Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the main event. Are you ready to pop your cork? In the left corner at 6'4", 242 pounds, with a record of 45-0, the undisputed.
Hey, Michael.
Hey, Will.
Hey, how many bottles of wine have you had?
Well, Will, it's not the wine. I'm just so excited about the podcast.
Yeah, I am too. But this is not a boxing match. This is We Know Texas Vino.
Salute.
Welcome back, all you Texas wine lovers. This is your host, Will. Today, I'm in a really great, amazing little place today. It is called Old Vine, Texas, in Mansfield, Texas, and I have Erik and Emily Beyer here. Thank y'all for having y'all on the show today.
Yeah, appreciate you coming out.
Yeah, we've been talking for probably 6 months to a year.
Closer to a year and a half.
Yeah. So I've introduced y'all to a lot of the North Texas wineries up here, and there's still a lot more that need to be introduced to. But we'll get you there. I mean, you got to start small and work your way big sometimes, Mm-hmm. So before we get going into the show, what are we drinking right now?
A Blanc de Franc Rosé, which is made by West Cave Cellars.
Okay.
Just a beautiful tap wine that we have here. They make it for us, and we have it available daily. So it's always available here. We keep it on tap with a few others. Awesome.
I tell you what, like the first time you gave me a little drink, a sample of it, I got a little smokiness out of it. Like I said, when you open up your smoker and you taste the barbecue smoke coming out, I got that. But now you gave me a bigger glass of it. Like the very first thing I got was like full on dark strawberries. Like right off the garden, you didn't wash it or anything like that. You just ate it right then and there. And that's what I really got out of that. So, and I really like that flavor.
Yeah. And it's, the rosé is made from Cab Franc, and it, really, you get the fruitiness that you don't always get on a rosé. And this one it's very strawberry. Right. And you get that up front, you get it on the palate, as you said.
Mm-hmm. Well, one of the biggest things that you brought to my attention, and I didn't really get to see it on the little tasting that you gave me, but I see it really good here, is that it is much darker than your traditional rosé. And you said he keeps on the skins on it for 10 minutes longer.
I don't know.
I don't know that you should fact check us on that. You might have made some of that up.
It's always fun to say stuff like that,
It's just the idea that it's kept on the skin a little bit longer than some other rosés, which is what gives it the deeper color. It makes it a little bit darker. It's not deep and dark like a Cab Franc, obviously, but it's not as light as some rosés.
Oh, yeah. It's definitely a wonderful little glass of rosé there. And I wish I had a bottle here because I would be taking it home. Oh, you do?
Oh, we have it. Don't worry.
Daggone, my pocketbook went light. But before we get into the deep of the show, I'm going to go through my social media real quick. So you can find us on Facebook at We Know Texas Vino. You can also find us out on the internet at weknowtexasvino.wine or .com. And then, of course, you can find us on any podcasting platform out there. And if you find us and you listen to us and you love our show, give us a 5-star rating and give us some feedback. We love to hear from y'all what you want us to do on educations or what wineries you want us to go to. So you're listening to We Know Texas Vino. We're at episode 80. It's That's crazy. Cool. It just feels like just yesterday we just started doing this, and we're almost hitting 100. I'll hit 100 in March. I counted on the calendar. 100
nice.
in March.
Nice.
So we are at Old Vine, Texas, in Mansfield, Texas. Thank you again for having me out here.
Yeah, that's exciting.
So the first question I have to ask, because I've looked on y'all's website and I've looked all online for y'all. I want to know what turned y'all into wine. I mean, what was your first experience of getting into wine?
Individually, we have different stories.
Very different.
I really didn't get into wine until after we were together. Because, I frankly didn't even start really drinking wine until probably 5 years ago.
Not even Boone's?
No. Nope.
That's not wine. Stop.
And so we both had some life changes but we met or reconnected rather, and we started dating, and we were just doing kind of the usual stuff, grocery store, wine, and when she came out to visit, she wasn't living in Texas yet. We went out to Grapevine and went and visited a couple places, and I was actually really impressed. And the last place we were was at Bingham. And before we left, we signed up for their wine club. And so that became kind of our staple. So every time she came into town, we would go there, pick up our wine club, and then get our free glasses or whatever.
A little date spot.
Date spot. But it really showed us the kind of the depth of what Texas wine had to offer that I had no idea about. And we didn't really start branching out until
the following summer, June. We took a trip down to Fredericksburg for my birthday. Yeah, which was everything to me.
So we went and, of course, visited a bunch of places at that point, and we realized that this was definitely a thing, and definitely a thing for us and between us. And when we were planning on where to get married, we hadn't even thought about down there, and our original plans didn't really unfold properly. So we had picked up a flyer for Carter Creek, and we ended up booking and getting married at Carter Creek. And it was in March of 21, so it was right after things started to kind of open-ish back up. And we were the first wedding there at Carter Creek. And we weren't the first guests in their villas, but pretty darn close.
One of them, yeah.
But because they were still figuring out opening up the restaurant, the chef created a custom menu for our party.
Nice.
For the lunches that we were there on site. And, they took such good care of us. So they're, of course, here is, almost a tribute to that.
Right.
But after the wedding, we started to go down fairly frequently. And we'd stay at Carter Creek. We would stay there. We'd stay in the same room, 3502. And
wait a minute. You remember your room number? And you stay in that room number
we
every
stay
time?
in the same one every time.
Y'all request that every time you get there?
They have notes on our account. That's the room we want to be in.
So
for 2021 and part of 2022, we were the most frequent guests that they had.
So my question is,
I don't know if that's a problem.
Y'all like call them weeks in advance, like, hey, we're going to be here this time of the week. We need this room.
Yes.
And then they kick anybody that's in there out.
They would.
I think we beat most of the bookings at that point,
Well,
but maybe.
they did. There were
They
a couple
rescheduled
times
someone.
where there was a, hold on, we'll call you back. And they call back, it's like, all right, you're good. I'm like, all right, cool, thanks.
Man, it's kind of like celebrity status. You got to pop a skull out now. Roll out the red carpet for y'all.
So, it's about 3.5 hour drive each way. And the more we went down, the more we realized there wasn't that experience up here. Directly. Obviously, we've learned since there's actually quite a bit around here, but not directly around Mansfield specifically, without driving an hour or 2 hours. So we had talked about the idea of doing something, and then where Emily works, she talked to a lot of ladies who were going on trips to Napa, Sonoma, and all that stuff, and we're like, why don't you go down visit here in Texas? And so many people had no idea that there was even a wine region here in Texas. So that then sparked the whole thing of we need to do something about
I was
this.
like, how do people not know this is here? The wine is so good. The experience is amazing. The wineries are amazing. And they're flying out to California, and that is what it is. It's its own experience. But you don't have to go that far. You literally can drive.
Well, here's what's crazy is the reason why a lot of people don't know that is because there's not a lot of, honestly, no advertisement for it. And so the only time you see that stuff is when people like you and I are out there promoting and pushing it. Or you got people like Roxanne over here at Lost Oak, and you got John Reifenberg over here in Fredericksburg, or you got Cliff and Betty Bingham who are promoting. People like that who are actually pushing and pushing and pushing for that out there. And even then, we're in our own state, we're not getting promoted.
Right.
And so we need to have big billboards promote Texas wines.
Right.
That's not a bad idea.
And
You're onto something. We'll talk later.
and there are a couple. Who's the one? Oh, I'm totally spacing it. There's a couple driving up and down the highways. I drive so much for work, so I see a couple out there, but that's it. And it's not really talking about Texas wine in general. It's talking about a winery. But yeah, so it just really evolved into this idea got to a point where we're like, well, let's see if any of the wineries are even interested in participating in this. Of course they were. I don't think we talked to anyone. No, there were two that weren't. And one of them we understood, the other one, they just had a certain persona, and that was fine. And so we learned, we got to know a lot more wineries, winemakers, the managers, all the stuff, and we were just developing the relationships. And we realized there was not only an interest, but because of where we are in DFW, there was a really big interest in wanting to figure out how to get their stuff up here. And now we're even talking to at least one winery that is intrigued by our presence up here so much that they are putting together a proposal for us to be able to get their wine club members up here taken care of through us.
Wow. So, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. And of course, that's a whole other conversation.
That's another hole that you're digging down there.
But it's definitely something that is helping to open up doors for us for potential other growth and opportunity to help grow the Texas wine market. I mean, that was the sole purpose. And obviously we love wine, and we love the Texas wine scene and everything about it and the people in it. But as we've gotten into this, the overarching intent is to encourage people to taste Texas wine, learn about Texas wine, and then go visit the wineries, get out there, go see them, go meet those people, develop your own relationships with those wineries.
Do your trip down there.
Yeah.
Come in here. We'll help curate it for you.
Or even just right here in your backyard here in Dallas-Fort Worth. There's an hour and a half just north. You can hit a whole bunch of wineries. Or actually, about 20 minutes from here, you got Lost Oak from right here. So you've got some really good wineries right here. And actually, not just Lost Oak, but you also got over in Cleveland. There's like 5 wineries in Cleveland. In fact, actually, there's a new one that just opened up, Los Pollo or Pollo Lost something or another. I can't remember what it's called. It was an actually new one that just opened up. So there's wineries popping up all over the place. So there's you can find some good stuff here. Also down in Fredericksburg, also down around East Texas, up around all the high plains. You can find Texas, and you can drink the same varietal from different regions of Texas and taste the regions.
Yes.
That's the cool thing.
Yeah. Yep.
So go ahead. Do you have something else you want to add to that?
No, I was
you had that like I got to say something
not
else.
specifically, and maybe I have the whole elevator pitch ingrained into my head now, but because we're in a small space right now, we have the ability to carry 15 different wineries, and with the 15 different wineries, we have just over 120 different Texas wines on the shelf, which is pretty darn cool.
Right.
I don't know if we can yet claim we have the largest single collection of Texas wines.
Yeah, we still will.
But but we will for now.
Well, you might want to put a thought up with that Stone Trough.
What?
Stone Trough over in Cleveland. Oh, you've never seen the Vino Files?
See?
Oh, you need to go check out the Vino Files.
Yeah, that's there is so much, and the more we learn, the more we realize we don't know, and that's the continued beauty.
We'll take a side trick right quick for them. So they used to be an old Johnson County, what is it called, file system, where they kept all the files. Okay, and when they bought this and turned it into their own winery, they were going to take out the whole file system, that the old crank file system where you move the shelves over. Well, they found out it was going to be more expensive to do that than just to keep it. And so now you walk into this big file vault, and if you want reds, you crank the handle over to get to the reds. If you want whites, you crank the handle over to get to your whites. If you want rosés, you crank it over there. It's cool. I like it. I mean, I just want to go in there and just play on it.
Right.
But they offer a lot of different hill country wines in there too.
Okay.
Yeah, you should go check them out.
Definitely.
Yeah. They've got some good wines also. They got a Black Spanish that's absolutely just gorgeous. Like, man, I drank some Black Spanish, and that was, yeah.
Those are fun. 12 Fires
yeah.
makes a rosé of Black Spanish, or they did anyway. And so, yeah.
Yeah. You need to stop. My bank account's already negative. Okay.
Well,
Take a lot of bottles today.
But kind of to your earlier point, you get to taste all these different regions too once you get really familiar with them. Mm-hmm. And even with these 15 wineries, and granted, most of them are currently from the hill country because getting started, we sort of needed the easy access to get off the ground. Except for Valley Mills, which is in Valley Mills, just west of Waco. Mm-hmm. There's even then a lot of differentiation between the varietals.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And just this week, which I know we'll talk about it here in a sec, but with our tasting, we did back-to-back 2 different Albareños.
Oh.
And so it was really fun to have that. And if we really wanted to, and we may still do this at some point, because I think we have 3 on the shelf, Albareños. So we could have actually done 3 whites and 2 reds and then just done 3 Albareños for fun.
I'm finding that I'm starting to like Albareños quite a bit, more so with cigars. Thanks to Miguel over at
Stephen A. Yeah.
I mean, he literally said, "Here, have this cigar, have this bottle of wine." I'm like, okay.
What about the Albareño with the cigar makes it work then?
I don't know. He actually told me to try it, and I tried it, and it
worked.
It fit. I don't know. I can't remember the cigar that he gave me because he had 3 different options, and I said, give me what you think I should smoke and give me a bottle of wine that goes with it. And that's what he provided. And
it's perfect.
It was perfect. Like it was a gloomy day and it was raining and I was like, these clouds are crying for me because it's so good.
So we dropped all of our wine clubs when we got this started because it didn't make sense anymore.
You get your own personal wine club now.
Yeah, basically. We'll talk about that in a second. We love Miguel and Barbara, and we love his cigar club so much that we kept the wine club, which you have to have in order to be a part of the cigar club.
Are you serious?
Yep.
That's smart marketing on their part.
Anyway, so we're
gonna have to have a talk with Miguel now.
We're still officially over there, but it also means we officially get a lot of cigars, which is great.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to probably. I'm gonna have to double think my wine clubs now. It's also what you're doing here. I mean, really, like I come in here and I look at this wall and I see a whole bunch of different wines from you said 12 different wineries?
15.
And there's some of them I've never heard of, and there's some I have heard and I've been to or haven't been to yet or recorded with. So it really has intrigued me more, wanting to press faster to get more recordings done. I may have to start dropping twice a week now.
No.
That ain't gonna happen.
Careful what you promise.
100 episodes by January.
Oh yeah. So you got turned on to wine. You're loving the Texas wine industry, and you love what's got going here. But what did you do before you decided to get into this? I mean,
so to be transparent, we both still have our day jobs.
I think most people who have some sort of winery have a day job still.
Yeah. And that's what pays the bills. So this is currently a labor of love. Mm-hmm. We have a great small staff, though, and very skilled, tasting managers. Finished his West at level 2. Mm-hmm. Our assistant tasting manager, I think, also has her level 2. Mm-hmm. We're about to enter that journey and get our level 1s. And so, we're taking it seriously. And what's really encouraging is the fact that both of those folks that I mentioned actually came to us.
Nice.
So, we had a couple of individuals that we had sought out or had apply or whatever. And a couple of them just didn't pan out, and that happens.
Right.
But these two actually came into our place asking if they could be a part of it, wanting to be a part of it.
Nice.
And so that was really pretty telling for us that what we're doing is, we're going in the right direction.
Right. It's always a good feeling when people come in that you don't know who they are. They just come in like, hey, we see what you got going on. We kind of see what your business model is going to be like. We want to be part of that. And that's always a good feeling.
Yeah.
And that speaks volumes right there alone of what you've got going on here. Because I know personally when you and I started talking, I was like, when he gets this going and everything's moving, it's going to pop and it's going to get fast and it's going to get big. And next thing you know, you're going to have a bigger spot.
Yep.
Which you're already looking for that now, aren't you?
Yep. We are. Yep. We absolutely are. And we're looking at it for a lot of reasons. This is a great launching spot for us, and we'll be here as long as we need to. But ultimately, with the 15 wineries on the wall, that's a quarter of where we want to be.
Right.
And wanting to have a space, because we do live music every Friday and Saturday as long as we can be open, and we want to be recognized as a reputable live music space in Mansfield.
Right.
And so you tie all that in, and now you got to have a decent space to accommodate that. And then in addition to that, one of the things that we are finding is there is a demand for a place like this to have potentially more food options. So we do a beautiful charcuterie that Emily's put together, and we get compliments on it all the time. So we know that's been done well. But
we just have one.
We just have one. It's not enough.
Right.
But because of where we're at, we're extremely limited with what we can do.
Right. So you should check into Uncle's Pizza. Like, he specializes in wineries and flatbreads, and everything's 100% Texas. And he makes everything here in Texas, obviously. And he flash freezes them, keeps the freshness in them. He vacuum seals them all up, and a lot of the wineries buy them up.
Oh.
Like you said, you was at Roanoke, Bingham and Roanoke. Maybe it was somebody else I was thinking of.
Okay.
So most of the wineries have them, like Lonesome Vine has them now. Bingham over in Roanoke has them now. They've got great pizzas there. I mean, he makes some really, really great pizzas, and something to look into. I mean, he'll bring you an oven. He'll teach you how to do everything, and you literally just keep them in the freezer and pull them out when you need them.
Yeah, that might be something to consider.
Freezer space would be the other thing to consider. I think we have to get a freezer to do that.
Yeah, we have some.
Our kitchen's limited.
where we're at currently, and that's okay. It's teaching us a lot.
Thing.
Yeah,
it's a good bad thing.
It's a good bad thing. But we're hoping for, at least our vision is, once we are open, to be open from like 10 to 10, 7 days a week. So we can offer grab and go lunch stuff. We can offer a broader munchy menu for the later in the day stuff, and be a part of this local downtown community in historic downtown Mansfield. That just also offers another really good place to hang. And as we all know, if you got food, it'll keep people there. But if you got food with wine or alcohol in general, they will stay longer. So.
And then if you got live music, that makes them stay there all night, and you got to tell them to get out of here.
Yep. So, and there's some other great spots here, and they all have their own really neat thing that they offer to this community. And obviously the downtown Mansfield area is really trying to grow and expand. And we've had a lot of great conversations with them. They're very excited for us to be a part of this and be a part of it. And so it's just a matter of finding out exactly where we're going to land. And what that's going to look like, but we'll get there.
I know some places, when they have little wineries like this, they start out, they will actually pair up with some of the local food businesses or mom and pop and offer food from them, bring it in, have them come in and stuff like that, or even have food trucks come in. Because I know like 555 has a food truck that comes in every so often out there.
So we have no problem, and when people have asked, we have no problem if people want to bring in food when they come in here. So nights we have live music, it's not uncommon to see a group or a couple bring in, tacos from the taco place or burgers or whatever, We even, we hosted a small group. They were just here in one of our regular Thursday nights, and we set up a long table, and they brought in a whole spread for their group of like 12 people. And that was their own thing, and it was really cool. And we had other guests here, and it was no big deal.
All right, now I have to ask this question. So the people who brought the hamburgers in, was it McDonald's?
No.
Okay, good.
No,
will say.
I may have to have them turn around. Although, McDonald's and a Texas wine pairing could be a really interesting thing. But
no, I'm just going to say that right now. That'd be a bad idea.
So,
it's almost as bad as Girl Scout cookies and wine pairing.
Oh my gosh!
Ask me how I know that one.
So we do have a lady in town. I know there's several folks around the Metroplex that do this thing, but she does, the fancy popcorn. And so she's done a couple events in the past, not with us, but just in general. And so we've had the loose conversation about doing the typical popcorn wine pairing thing, which I don't know.
I think it'll be fun.
Can be kind of fun.
Yeah. But I have a problem with popcorn and wine. I don't know why. To my head, it doesn't compute.
No.
And my IT brain is equals minus or equals. It means it doesn't equal. And it doesn't
the
word
work.
compute comes up every time.
We'll let you know when we do it, and you come on out and
I'll do that.
see if we can make it work.
I mean,
see if there's an equation there.
OG was talking about doing that at their new place in Greenville. So it's a thing. We've just never experienced it to understand.
There's
it
a lot of wineries that have done it. In fact, actually, I know Lone Star down in McKinney has done it with the popcorn shop next door to them. And I'm just like, I'm sorry. I can't see the salt of popcorn. Now, maybe if it was like chocolate popcorn or, something like that, maybe.
Well, I think it's more like that. I think they have a lot of different flavors that they can pair. I don't think it's just like a salty, buttery movie theater popcorn.
But is that the only popcorn to eat? Is the movie about popcorn?
Right.
Oh, man.
So with pairings too, that's the other neat thing is, we're getting ready to kick off our wine club. And one of the things that we'll be working towards is doing the traditional wine pairing dinners.
Nice.
And so we'll be partnering with chefs either come here, which we have most of the accommodation for that. So it'd be a discussion to figure out. Or because we are a G permitted winery, we can do a lot of things that then allow us to go on site. So we could actually go to the restaurants themselves that have a private room.
Nice.
And then just do it that way. So there are different ways to accomplish that if we do like a quarterly dinner, which we would love to be able to do or get to do. But then on a more regular basis, monthly or whatever, and that's stuff we're still sorting out, is doing like tapas or hors d'oeuvre tastings, but just for fun. Like, okay, cool. On like a Sundays, like the last Sunday of the month or something, we're going to do a hors d'oeuvre tasting, and you come in. Maybe we sell a ticket, maybe we don't. I don't even know. And we have a spread.
I have to figure that out.
Come and go and eat what you want.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
Just buy the wine.
We have a spread and a recommended tasting, and we are a pairing, and you experience it. It's just part of the thing. But the key with that is making sure that there's enough people that are aware of it,
right?
To make it worthwhile. Because for anybody who's been in marketing, it's a numbers game, and if you for easy numbers, if you have 100 people on your mailing list, you get 10.
Right.
So if you're going to have a decent turnout, you got to have a decent mailing list to reach out to, and we're still building that up. So.
And with you having 15 different wineries here. Eventually, hopefully you'll have a lot of the different regions as you're getting bigger and stuff. I could do like a tasting of Cab Sauv from the High Plains and Cab Sauv from North Texas and East Texas and Hill Country. Sure. That right there would be fun. I mean, I know I've personally been talking about it myself, and I may have to end up partnering up with y'all to do something like that.
And I remember when we first sat down, what else did we talk about?
Talk about the
Riedel tasting.
I saw that. I was like, dang, you bought some Riedel glasses.
Yeah. So
did y'all have it lasered into it?
Right.
Cheap Walmart glasses had Riedel.
Right.
Extra 10 cents, you get the name engraved on there. But we still want to look at doing that because
I think that'll be fun.
We have the space to do it.
Yeah.
And we can host it pretty easily. So it's just a matter of making sure we're reaching enough people.
Right.
When we look at stuff. But with the region tasting too, because we just saw Robin, who's our assistant tasting room manager. She, with our previous winery she worked with, did a whole tasting. It was all the vintages. And so to be even look at doing something like that, it's like, if we can get kind of a library of a wine from a winery and look at the different vintages and do that. So same idea, but because those are fun. And those are things that people, at least we would go to. And I think that's part of our problem, part of our curse is we're like, aren't there more people like us out there that like to
we do it? Why wouldn't everyone else?
I mean, it is a curse because I mean there are other people out there like that, and it is a curse for all those other people too. You know, I know I like to do them. Sometimes when I find out about them, it's already too late and it's already happened.
Right.
Because I mean, you know, I've serviced all of Texas, and so I have my feed on Facebook and my email gets so saturated with emails from all these different wineries. I miss them a lot of times. You know, and so, you know, trying to record podcast and hit all the wineries. I want to support all of our Texas wineries. And sometimes it's not possible. You know, I still have to have a semi-life. Do we have one when you're in the wine industry?
I think that's arguable, but you know, when you're just getting into the wine industry and you also have a second job and then
or third.
Or fourth. and you have kids that are calling you and you're like, we haven't seen you in a couple of days. When are you going to be home? You know, that kind
come to the winery. You can see me.
Yeah.
Try to convince them to come work here.
Yeah.
If you'd work here, we could pay you and we could see you.
You don't pay family. Family comes work for free. That's always the rule.
Well, you can't feed them with wine.
Yeah, you can.
You can't pay them with wine.
You just tell them, hey, this is protein. Drink it. Oh, mercy. You know, I want to say it's a breath of fresh air hearing about what you're wanting to do. Because I mean, each winery does everything they can to get their name out and try to get the name of Texas wines out there. I know on many, many occasions, working at Landon, a lot of times people come in there and from different parts of the United States and they're like, oh, we told this was a great place to come to. And then I'll sit there and I'll do a little wine education with them. And they're like, I didn't know that Texas had such a huge wine industry going on. And I was like, honestly, I was looking up the other day trying to figure out what happened. Why did it all of a sudden just exploded like it has? And I still have not found the answer as to why has it just exploded. But I'm glad it has exploded because it has definitely boomed and promoted a lot of regions in Texas. Yeah. I will have to say this, and I've told this to John Rivenberg also. It made me sad as a kid growing up in Fredericksburg, going to the orchards out there and picking peaches and pears and plums and all like that. And they're not there no more. But in return to those, we have vineyards now. And so you still have the same type of people coming in, just now they're drinking it instead of picking it.
Yeah.
To say as an adult, you don't feel that bad.
So it's interesting, like Rustic Spur, you know, they don't have a tasting room right now. Right. They have their facility. And so they have their estate grapes, which are fantastic. And, but then they do also do peaches. So they do have their farm where they do have other things that are growing. But yeah, you're right. And it's funny. So relatable, not Texas, but Washington State, up where my mom lives, they don't live in Chelan, Washington anymore, or at all, actually. They live the north end of Lake Chelan. But anyway, in Chelan, you know, it was known, you would go to the grocery store, you saw Chelan apples and Chelan cherries. And that was the thing. And I think you still find those, like Washington apples and things, but they don't say Chelan on there as much because the same thing happened. They pulled out all of the orchards and they're now grapes. When we were out there 2 years ago or so, I was absolutely amazed. Because it had been a while since I've been out there. I had no idea. There are so many vineyards just exploding everywhere. And obviously very fertile ground. Yep. So, I mean, on the hills, right next to a lake, you get all it's like a perfect place for it.
Right.
Whereas down here, it's a little tricky.
Yep. And it's funny because when talking to the different vineyards and wineries, how they find little niches in the environment. Like, for example, I believe it's Parr or Robert Clay, one of those two, where their actual vineyard lies into a little valley right next to a little riverbed. So it's like 10 degrees cooler right there than it is anywhere else. Yeah. And I'm like, well, that's great.
That's perfect.
Especially when in the summertime when it's like 9 trillion degrees outside. His is 8 trillion degrees. Or over here recently over here at 555, where their house and the tasting room is up on top of the hill, and their vineyard is actually in a little valley. And they said it's a little bit cooler there because they get the breeze off the lakes because there's 2 lakes right there where they're at. So they get the little breeze right there, and they said it's about a 5 to 10 degrees difference right there. So every little bit, where you're putting your vineyard helps cultivate these grapevines and produce those vines and the fruit that comes off of them so much better.
I just read a little thing. I stumbled on it. I don't even remember where I read it about the area up near Lake Texoma. Mm-hmm. So same kind of thing, right? And just they're right on that big old lake, and they're getting all the benefits from it.
Yep.
I mean, it is pretty amazing, and it's crazy to think. What is it? Texas has like 150 lakes or something ridiculous.
Yeah, crazy. And they're actually wanting to make another one.
Right. Well, so to that point,
it's all man-made.
Only 3 of them are natural or something like that. But you put that into the big picture. I've never actually really thought about it till now, but wondering like where the vineyard's at in relationship to these bodies of water, if that is really a consideration, because we know how much is going on up at the high plains and West Texas, and there's not really that many lakes necessarily out there. So
especially in the high plains, there's not.
No. And
just recently, I know of a third vineyard going in over in the Davis Mountain area, and there is no lakes out there.
No, that's
like
crazy.
If you spit on the ground, it's already before you can get on the ground. It's already it's evaporated.
It's gone.
It's gone. But there's a third vineyard going in out there around the Davis Mountains. So I mean, it's crazy where they're putting vineyards now.
But that if you look at where the grapes that we grow in Texas are, again, they're Spanish, Italian influence typically, and I don't know if there's more water over there than there is here, so it is different. But those same grapes obviously are way different over here. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's a very, very different experience.
Right.
And so watching these vineyards do these really cool single varietals and really just showing off what the grape can do. Mm-hmm. But then to your earlier point, not just what it can do, but what it can do from a vineyard in the desert of Texas versus what it can do up and down in the hill country or down in, East Texas, whatever. And, the fact that Texas is now playing with Chardonnay and winning awards with it is pretty remarkable. So
I will have to give 2 shout outs to wineries like RK. He makes a great Chardonnay. And so Grayson, this was for you. And then, and then Michael over at Degavino. Mm-hmm. I love his Chardonnay. In fact, I think
that's a word.
That's the one we would have called up for sure. Yeah.
When I was there, I think when I was there a couple months ago, I bought his last 2 bottles. So I bogarted those quite, stick in the back of my freezer, refrigerator, and no one's touching those.
Oh, good. I know where to go to get one.
No, you don't. I didn't tell you anything. Those are not the droids you're looking for. So, Texas has got so many varietals we're growing. I think last time I checked, they said we got 100 different varietals we're growing.
120, I thought it was.
120 something
like that. Something crazy. In fact, actually, Sandy Rhodes is the only winery in the United States growing one varietal. And they actually just won gold at Lone Star International Wine Tasting.
So hold on, they're the only vineyard that's only growing a single.
Well, they're growing one specific grape, and let me look it up right quick. And I'll tell you, I can't even enunciate it because but it looks just like a Pinot Noir. Oh, but it's not a Pinot Noir. Yeah. It is a really, really good wine, and every time I'm down there. When I found out about it, I tried to make my way over there to get a bottle of it, and I just time constraints, and I couldn't get over there. So, which brings me up to this next question here: of all the varietals that Texas has, well, I'm looking this up for y'all. Of all the varietals, which one are your favorite ones? And now this is almost kind of like saying which one's your favorite kid too. Okay.
So.
I think it depends.
This is tricky because it depends who makes it.
Okay.
Because you can have a grape that you really like, but you may like it better from one winemaker versus another.
I mean, I could go down a real quick list.
Go ahead.
Ab Asterisk Tanat. 12 Fires, Montepulciano.
Oh man, I love man Monty.
Siboney Carmenere.
Oh man.
Maybe I'll trade you a bottle for Chardonnay. We'll see.
The West Cave Cab has been moving its way up my list pretty quick.
But their Petit Verdot.
Oh, yeah.
I'll fight you for that. It's so good.
Who's this again?
West Cave?
West Cave.
West Cave. The Petit Verdot.
Oh my gosh. It's
Really?
so good. They're the ones that make our tap wines. But they're
Interesting.
They're Petit Verdot. We have friends we were saving a bottle for.
Yeah.
We found out they're having a baby. We cracked it open for them. We're like, congratulations, we're drinking this. We'll get another bottle later. Not saving it for you anymore.
That is funny. And it's always great when you find a bottle of wine like that, you try to savor it as much as possible. And then you're like, okay, I'm going to drink this one. Okay, I got 2 more. I can drink 1 more. And then you just get that last one. You're like, okay, I don't want to drink this. I don't want to drink this.
No, what you do is you go, oh, we're going down there. Let's go ahead and drink it. And then you go down there and find out they don't have it anymore.
That's the worst feeling right there.
That was
12
There's a story
Fires.
with that one.
there is. I don't remember if it was our first or second visit to 12 Fires. It was one of our early ones.
Yeah.
And we scored. They had a single varietal Tanat.
This is so good. We still talk about it.
And it was even one of those where Mike was even saying that they didn't have very many. It was not a big run. And so it was, but we didn't pay attention. We didn't understand those words that came out of his mouth. So
we bought 2.
we had 2
or
bottles.
3 we had.
Yeah, I don't remember. We got enough thinking we'd be good. So without really knowing that this was going to be an issue, part of our learning process, we were like, cool, we're going to go down there and we're going to be seeing them first thing anyway. So you know what? We made a really nice dinner and at home, and we decided to go and open that, thinking excitedly.
Like literally, we're
gonna walk
headed
in.
down in a few days. Awesome. We can replace this bottle of Tanat.
Yeah. And we walked
Popped it
in.
open and we loved it.
And we immediately said, okay, cool. First, we want to make sure we're going to buy a couple bottles of Tanat. And they're like, oh.
Mike was like, we don't have that anymore.
We don't have that.
He was
anymore.
like, I think you have to fight my mom for the last case.
And we did. So we didn't fight his mom. Sorry, we want to be careful of that. But at one point, she told us that she would consider giving it to us. But anyway, it never happened. So
it's that kind of a moment where you kind of drop to your knees and you just put your hands in the air and you're like,
No.
Well, they ended up doing.
It was that moment.
They ended up doing
No
their
more
maroon
12
blend.
Fires Tanat.
They ended up doing their maroon blend,
Yes.
which has Tanat. So instead of doing a single varietal, they just do their maroon blend. Well, we learned our lesson. So we have maroon 1, we have maroon 2, and we have maroon 3. And
they just live forever.
yeah. And what's kind of funny, actually, and they were just featuring
Probably going bad
just
if we should
recently,
drink them.
probably.
12 Fires was just recently featuring doing a
1, 2, and 3.
1, 2, and 3. I don't know if they were selling them or doing a tasting of it or something.
Interesting. I know that Duke Meadows is.
Yeah.
I need
Duke
to have a
Meadows.
chat with. The last time I was down there, I was trying to do 12 Fires, and I didn't get a chance to get down there with Duke. But he's definitely an interesting person.
Duke, Mike, and Zach.
He comes up in my feed a lot. Like a lot. We won't talk about that, but he comes up in my feed on Facebook quite a bit. We gotta have a chat with him.
Like creepy? Or?
No, it's not creepy. It's just definitely interesting. So the one I was telling you about at Sandy Roads, and I don't know how to enunciate this. Okay, so I'm gonna do the best that I can. It's prosciutto, Prieto. Second word Picudo.
I think you did as good as I would have.
Yeah, and
I have to see
they're
it.
the only winery in the United States growing this varietal, and they won a gold.
Nice.
And let me tell you something. When I saw it,
What's the varietal?
Prieto,
Oh, that's the varietal?
Yeah.
What's the winery?
Sandy Roads.
Sandy Rose. Sorry. I did hear all that.
Yep. Like when I first saw it, because they had it lined up with a lot of other Pinot Noirs, and I looked at it and I was like, "That's not a Pinot Noir. It's not." It had the looks of it, but it wasn't. And I looked at it and I smelled it, and I smelled the Pinot Noir, and I was like, "No, these are two totally different ones." And then I tried it. I was like, yeah, I'm going to need a bottle of this. And I actually took a picture of it, of the number and stuff. So that way, after the judging was over with, I can go find it. And I found it. And I'm like, okay, Sandy Rhodes has this. But
where's the grape from originally?
Let me look. I'll tell you. Stand by. And they're right down the road from Portree too, by the way. The varietal is from northern Spain.
Okay. Interesting.
In Leon, northern Spain.
So it's very unique.
Yeah. It's a rare dark-skinned grape. Like, it's very magical. Like, I bet if I asked it to grant me a couple of wishes, it probably would.
Rub that bottle.
That is magical.
Oh, man. So, some of my favorite varietals that I actually coming out of Texas is I love Montepulciano.
Yes.
Like, I had who was it? I just had a rosé Montepulciano. Oh, it's OG Cellars. Oh, he had the Montepulciano rosé, and holy cow! Like, I love it. It was amazing. Oh, no, wait a minute. I'm sorry. It was 555. The Montepulciano, that was a rosé, and it was everything that I was expected it to be. Nice. Especially when you find out varietals that they turn into rosés that you're like, I don't know if this really is supposed to have been a rosé or not, but okay, we'll give it a shot.
Well, that's the thing. I think that's the beauty of what we're seeing going on here in Texas. I mean, the fact that we're drinking a Cabernet Franc rosé is kind of telling to that they're getting creative.
Yeah.
They have enough leftover fruit. They're like, you know what? Let's give it a shot. And it works.
Because
They're getting creative, but they're doing a really good job at it.
Yeah. I mean, Texas has got some great stuff, and we got something great going on here.
Yes.
Yeah. I think that's why you're seeing it explode. You're talking about that before, is like, why is the wine industry just exploding now here? But I think we have winemakers who've figured out, farmers, how do we make good grapes here? How is this process working? And now you've got these winemakers that, few years in, whatever, few years I say, but like a decade in, and they've figured out what works here.
Right.
And now we're reaping all the benefits of it, drinking these wines that we don't see anywhere else. And they're so good. And the flavors that are in there and what you're just getting on it, it's different from anywhere else. Right. And that's the beauty of Texas. And that's what we're doing here.
Yep.
Bring this to everybody.
Yep.
Gotta try it.
And that's one of the things I love talking about when people come into the tasting room. In fact, actually, one of my favorite stories to tell. And the lady came in, is from California, and she drank wine in California. And she came into Landon. And she goes, Landon is the only wine that I think is close enough to to California wine. I was like, really? She goes, yeah. She goes, a lot of Texas wines are really too sweet for me. And I was like, are they sweet? Or are they just fruit forward and you're not used to that? She goes, no, they're too sweet. And I was like, so you're telling me that a wine that has less than 1% residual sugar in it is too sweet for you? She goes, what do you mean by that? I was like, well, you're from California. Your taste buds are used to what California is providing to you. Okay. You come to Texas, our terroir, our environment, everything here is different. And so the grape's going to taste different. The wine's going to taste different. And so when you drink it, you're going to have to understand that there's going to be some fruit forwardness on it. There's going to be some jammy onto it. And that's going to give you that fake sense of sweetness when it really isn't sweet. It's just fruit forward or jammy. And she looked at me, and right behind her husband was going like this, giving 2 thumbs up, like, good job for telling her.
We've had to have those conversations, and I'm sure everybody in the business has had those conversations, and it's fun to have, and you have to obviously do it in a way that you're hopefully doing it to educate them. You're listening to what they're saying,
right?
And hopefully then at the end that customer is willing to try what you got going on and really help to branch out more. Because says, I mean, whether it's California or Texas, or you go to the Northeast, or, oh my gosh, I'm learning about wineries in Georgia. I mean, it's like, what? I mean, it's like, what happens there?
Most there's like muscadine and Mustang and stuff like that. It's a lot of sweet stuff.
Sure.
And I've had a lot of people come in and it's like, I don't get this good stuff. And people buy Texas wine and take it back. I said, well, don't you just sign up over here,
So talking about sweet wines. So we don't get into sweet wines. We enjoy dessert wines, different animal.
And ports.
Yep. Yeah, port style.
Yes, port style. Let's make the correct there.
Yeah. we've had to get creative. So, the sweetest that we had, aside again from the dessert wines, was a Muscat Canelli or an orange Muscat. That was the sweetest we had for a while. But we had a lot of people that were starting to come in, and they're like, I like sweet wines. We give them that to taste. They're like, it's still not sweet enough.
It's not syrup.
Like, holy cow. So
you laugh, but that's true.
So one of our wineries or one of our bigger suppliers, because they're easy access for us and we could use them for events and things like that and do larger quantities. They have a huge selection, so we're able to go and kind of handpick. So I did. It's like, cool. Well, let's go down the menu. Let's handpick. So I picked a handful of sweet wines. I got 3 of each. Got like I don't know, a couple.
Moscato. We got a sweet Riesling. We got a sangria.
Sangria. There was a really nice sweet red. And there's 1 or 2 others in there, but. So we've been actually going through that now because we've been offering it to people, and it's amazing. I mean, there's a lot of sweet wine drinkers around here in Texas. They love their sweet tea. So it's if nothing else, I'm happy that we're able to check that box for them and not lose a customer over it, because now we know that they know that they can come in, get their sweet wine fix, their friends or their husband or whatever it is. I say that because sometimes it's the guys that like the sweet wines. So anyway, the people that they're with can then enjoy what they like to enjoy, but they still get their sweet wine in there.
Right. One of the things I love about people who come in with giving sweet wines, the reason why they want sweet wines is because the first time they interacted with wine, someone gave them a big, bold, dry red. They drank it and they I didn't care for that. Yeah. I don't want that. I want the sweet stuff.
Yeah, it freaked them out.
Yeah, it freaked them out. And what I do is I love to give them, I say, hey, look, if you don't pay for a tasting, I'll walk you through this and I'll teach you how to drink this and you can understand it better. And I've had a pretty good ratio of people swapping over from sweets to actually drinking at least whites, because now they understand, which that's going to be our education segment here in just a few moments, about how to drink wine. And because they don't know. And because they were given a big glass of big, bold, dry red, they got turned off to it.
Yeah, so, it was like it's too much right away.
Yeah. So what is in works for y'all in the future? I mean, because we've been kind of given the kind of insight of what y'all are doing now and what you got going on here. But in the next, let's say 6 months, a year, 5 years down the road, what do you are wanting to accomplish? What are you wanting to do? What is your ultimate dream for this wine bar?
So big picture, and we've even migrated a little bit from calling ourselves a wine bar, because I think we're a tasting room.
Okay, that's fair.
And it's something we've had to really kind of adapt to in describing it, because even initially thinking about the marketing, the subtitle, or whatever, subheading for our logo, we had wine bar in there because it made sense to us. But now that we've experienced, gone out there, we've figured out, we learned, and what's what we do, it really truly embodies what a tasting room actually is. Right. And because we are classified as a winery, then we're like, cool, we can accept that. So we can be it. So that all said, though, that's what we're starting as. And I think the growth plan, I mentioned quadrupling the number of wines we have, increasing our hours to full-time hours, increasing our food offerings, within reason, what makes sense for around here and for our customer base. Being able to do live music on a regular basis. And there's other cool, fun things we've been toying with. Having our wine club grow however it may, to be able to do our quarterly dinners and our occasional other little tasting type events. But then properly growing into a wine bar. Right. Because at that point, we'll have the retail aspect of it, because we'll have such a large selection to choose from, that it will become you can buy here, drink here, eat here. I mean, now it's kind of a whole culmination of this picture, right? That is not really any different than a good size winery somewhere that has a proper room and has the food and the service. but we're representing all those wineries.
Just a lot more places.
Yeah, just a lot more places rather than something of our own. That also said, we've had several wineries approach us to do Shiner programs and label programs, and because of our permit, we could do that. However, at least as of right now, it would dilute what we're trying to do.
Correct.
So we have zero desire to do that right now. We do talk about it because we think it would be a lot of fun. We don't think we would ever find ourselves getting into the winemaking aspect on a bigger scale. There's plenty of people out there that do a beautiful job of that.
We'd like to showcase their job
versus
doing it ourselves.
But if there is an opportunity at some point for us to do a Shiner type program, then cool. We'll embrace that.
Right.
But it's not something that we're pushing. So really the whole idea is to grow into a bigger space that would allow us to have just the ability to function on a larger scale. And I mean, all fairness and truthfulness, the goal is both of us to be able to work at full time.
Right.
Yeah. That's the ultimate goal, right?
Right.
And be able to pass it down, make it generational. But
Nice. Well, I know what you got going on here is amazing, and you're just starting out, and you always want to start a dream out as big as possible. You started out, I think, pretty big for the first time. I know from our conversations when you first started doing this, I know your big picture. I know what you wanted to do, and get to sit here and actually talk about it even more. I get to see a bigger picture of what you've got going on, and I love what you're doing. And thank you for what you're doing to help promote the Texas wine industry as well. I know I can't speak for all the other winemakers, but we appreciate it they appreciate it as well, because I mean, people need to understand that Texas has great wines. It may not be, your favorite one at this one winery, but go to another one right down the road. You'll find something you'll like, because Texas has got so much good grapes out there. So much good grapes. So what we're going to do, we're going to take a quick little 5-minute break or 10-minute break, however long y'all need. Get up and stretch our legs a little bit, and then we're going to come back and do a little bit of education. Okay. So just kind of give our listeners a little heads up on what our education is going to be. It's going to be about tasting, how to properly do a tasting in a tasting room. Correct? Not a wine bar, but a tasting room. So we're going to be right back in just a few moments. I want to thank Emily and Eric for letting us come in here, but we're going to be right back in just a few moments, and we'll do some education.
Perfect.
Okay.
Awesome.
Hey, this is Jeff Coe from TexasWineLover.com. We're here with Will, Michael, and Jen from We Know Texas Vino.
And this is Amy Nemec with the Texas Wine Lover mobile app. We're wrapping up the interview and moving into the wine education portion of the episode, so stick with us.
Welcome back, everybody, to We Know Texas Vino. We're sitting out here at Old Vine, Texas with Eric and Emily, and we're going to actually have a really good little talk about wine tasting. He says we're at a tasting bar. Make sure we say that correctly. It's not a wine bar. Okay. So, again, I work in a tasting room as well, and I've had a lot of people come in and ask about proper tastings. Now, the one thing I tell them that you always have to do when you do a tasting is you always want to do whites, rosés, and reds, and then sweets last. I actually learned this today while I was doing this, a little bit of research for this. You actually do your sparkling dries or sparkling semi-sweets first, then your whites, and then your rosés, and then your reds, and then your sweets, and then your sparkling sweets at the end of it. So with all that being said, table is open on discussions and education on wine tasting, proper etiquette when it comes to tasting.
So I have a question for you first.
Okay.
Because we've been casually criticized on Facebook by probably just one person, really. May have been two, but
One person liked her post.
How much do you consider is how much
a proper
of a pour
tasting
is a tasting?
What size?
1 ounce, 1.5, 2 ounces?
So I think it's all up to the winery, because I know that some wineries do 1 and some do 2. And then the other ones, like the higher end ones, they want to do 3.
So when we were poking around, we were trying to figure out how this was going to work. And of course, looking at the economics of it, right? It came down to, and in our own experiences, 1 ounce was like, that was the norm.
That's pretty well standard across the board.
Standard, right? And every once in a while, there's a little fudge room in there, right?
Yeah.
3 ounces is considered a flight.
Yep.
5 is a glass,
Yep.
right? So, and again, there's fudge room and all of that stuff.
Right.
But so we based it off of that. And so what we do, and then I'll kind of go into answering kind of the question too. So what we do is we do 5 wineries, so 5 different wines, which allows us to do typically 2 whites, a rosé, and 2 reds. Sometimes we'll do 3 whites and 2 reds, or 2 whites and 3 reds, but for the most part, what we try to do is 2 whites, a rosé, and 2 reds. And they are 1 ounce pours. And so what we have is we got a board, and it has little spots in it for a tiny little carafe. That carafe has exactly a 1 ounce pour, and we give you a glass. So it is a self-guided tasting experience. Excuse me. We give you the tasting notes that we get typically from the winemaker, if we can. And then of course, we check on folks, and we'll try to interact with them. We try to have conversations with them. So as opposed to when you go into a winery and you're sitting at a bar or a table, and they pour them one at a time, and sometimes they're talking to you about it. Sometimes it's this is what this is.
Right.
Enjoy.
Yeah, you get as much as you want from it. So
Yeah.
if you just want to hang out with your friends and enjoy your tasting and self-guided, perfect. We
Right.
got you. If you want a little bit more interaction, we got you on that too.
Yeah, we could, it's funny because we actually haven't done any of those yet, where we would actually pour for you. We actually had the bar designed with the intent of you could come up, pony up to the bar. You have purse hooks under there and a little foot thing down below.
I think it's because you don't get the cute carafe, and everyone likes the carafe.
They do.
The tasting's cute here. I'm just
We've
saying.
gotten so many compliments on our tasting board because it allows a group of people to each of them get a tasting
Right.
and go sit down, and they're sharing and talking about it, and it's a whole thing, and we're not getting in the way.
Right.
Now, I'm not saying that's right or wrong. It's just a weird thing that we've discovered in our space. It
Works for our model.
beautifully
Right.
well,
People love it.
and people love it.
We're happy to get in the way, but
Yeah.
we don't have to.
Well, my problem is I would probably always be in the way because I like to talk about it. I mean, I'm like, hey, what do you want to know about this? And they're looking at me like, can you leave now?
Yeah.
Well, and so the irony to that is when we go down and we visit wineries and we, visit new places and or even older places, and we do a tasting, we love the interaction with whoever's there working, and it's part of the experience that we enjoy. But we're talkers, and we love to talk about this kind of stuff, and share and all that. Where I think we're finding with a lot of our customer base here, that's not their shtick necessarily.
Yep.
Now, we do have some regulars and some customers, and they'll come sit in by our bar, and
They've told us we need chairs at the bar because they want to hang out
they want
there.
to sit at the bar and hang out. But, so we do have those customers, and we'll be able to have those conversations. We'll stand in front of the wine wall and just talk about wine forever.
Right.
And so those that really like that experience, they come up and they will get into conversations with us. But those that just want to hang out with their friends or with their partner, whoever they're with on the trip, they can and enjoy the tasting on their own. And so, I don't know. I think at the end, really, to answer the question of, what really makes a good tasting, I think it's just it's the experience.
Right.
And that's what you make of it.
Yeah, and I know that in the end, ultimately, it's the experience that gives what the tasting is. I know that when people ask, how do you do a proper tasting? And so I talk about them. I tell them, well, it's all about the smell. It's all about the taste. And then it's what you make of after that final taste. In fact, actually, when I started doing this wine journey, it's almost been 5 years now, 4 years ago. Wow. Go down memory lane there, sorry. I actually had came up with a little process, and I listened to another podcast out there called "For Wine for Normal People." She really breaks down wine into a sense that you don't have to be pretentious or snobbery. And that's what I love about her podcast, is about it. And so one of the things I tell a lot of people is, like, you know, when you smell your wine, you always want to properly smell it. And then when you get through smelling it, you want to take a sip of it. You don't want to take a big gulp of it. You want to take a small sip, because you want it to go across your palate. You want it to hit every bit of your taste buds. And I like to call that actually blossoming your taste buds, or blossoming your palate, because then you're hitting the front of your palate, you're hitting the middle of your palate, you're hitting the back of your palate. And then once you've done that, give your nose and your tongue just that few moments to kind of start talking to each other. You know, it kind of gets that switches going, you know. And yeah, I know my finger motions here doesn't.
Listeners are not seeing how great this is.
But when people do that, who are not used to doing wine tastings and stuff like that, they do that. They get a new experience out of it. And then, of course, you know, after they do that first initial little small sip, they do a bigger one, and they kind of understand what's going on. And then, of course, it leads into a whole bunch of other questions, you know, like, you know, proper holding of the glass, you know, like, do you hold the glass by the stem, or do you cradle the bowl in your hand? And, you know, I was like, well, you know, if you really want to get all technical and stuff, you know, hold it by the stem. And then they're like, well, why do you want to do that? Well, it's because you don't want to raise the temperature of that wine. Specifically, if it's a cold wine, you don't want it to get warm. And so, you know,
unless it's too cold, and all of a sudden you're like, cradle that wine, warm that up. Everything we told you is wrong.
So it's interesting, you know, talking to the people that when they come into the tasting room, you know, in fact, actually one of my favorite methods of swirling wines, you know, I like doing the swirling in the hand. Okay. Mm-hmm. You know, to me, it just looks just unorganized. Mm-hmm. You know, I've actually loved sticking it on the table, and I show people how to do this. And I tell them that if you do it right, and I demonstrate it, and they usually get it right the first time, I like to call it the fan blade method, because if you look at it, it makes a fan blade when you do it right, and it will get all the way down to the center, and it will release the aromas out of there. Yep. And so I love telling people about that, and they're like, oh, that's kind of cool. And it's kind of cool when you look at it, like, oh, it does look like fan blades.
Well, that's easy.
Yeah.
You know,
and
if you're not an aggressive swirler.
I know.
Well, you know, there's some of these people that swirl like this, it spills wine everywhere.
That's it. we have those occasionally. They think they're trying to be fancy, and all of a sudden there's wine going everywhere. So,
like, you know, there's angels that just cry because of that.
Yes. So, you know, we're all taught to, you know, you look at it, right?
Right.
So you don't just lift it. You actually, you have to like tilt it,
mm-hmm.
let it hit the light, and then you swirl it, and you get the nose. You enjoy the nose, and then
you can get the top of the nose and the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's the thing. So depending on the aromatics, sometimes you're getting it, you're 3 or 4 inches away from the glass, and it's just hitting you in the head.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you got to really dive in, but you know, once you're in there, you know, then you gotta get the nose again, and then sip right away, like you're saying, and but you learn how much your sip is.
Right.
You know, I've some people do the slurp method to kind of get it once you're in there. I do the swish method, so I try to coat my mouth with it as much as I can, and I know that everybody has their own.
Yeah, everybody has their own little thing. Yeah. You know, one of the fun things, and y'all probably know Jen Chase.
Yes.
One of the things that I like to tell people is when they smell their wines. That you can do it 2 ways of smelling the wines. There's the normal way by putting the nose on top of the glass and smelling it, or there's the creepy smell.
What's the creepy smell?
Oh, you know the creepy smell?
I don't think so. Maybe I do the creepy smell.
So the creepy smell is when you smell and smile at the same time. Well, and
we're
Jen,
all guilty of the creepy smell once in a
well, Jen actually told me that when you actually smell and you also smell with your mouth also, you're smelling from your nasal and from your mouth also. So you don't have to like open your mouth like you can't. Our folks can't see me doing that.
The
but,
visuals. If only we could broadcast this like on TV.
But I mean, the way she taught me was, take it and smell it. Put your nose at the top of the glass, and then smell it with your mouth. But it look like you're smiling while smelling it. So here, I'll just demonstrate it to y'all.
But you're kind of also breathing in, right?
Right. You're also breathing in.
Yeah.
So that way you're not.
Right. Okay.
I wish you all could see this. We have a Halloween special coming up.
Oh,
it's images of this.
We'll scare every kid in the world.
We'll post pictures on Instagram later. So then we have folks. Deems here, our tasting room manager is one, and I've seen others. If you ever seen Looper Som on Instagram, she's ridiculously cool and ridiculous. But there are folks that either close their eyes or blindfold themselves when they do the smell. I don't understand it yet. I know there's a reason behind it.
I think it's a focus thing.
And maybe it is a focus thing. You're not distracted. Maybe because it really heightens the sense. But it's a thing. And I have seen others.
Well,
those are two that come to mind.
I'm going to throw a little comic book reference in it. Well, Daredevil, he went blind.
Yep.
All his other senses picked up where he lost his vision. So, that could be a very, valid thing. Now, maybe not for an instant thing. Maybe your body has to get accustomed to it first. Maybe you have to walk around a week with blindfolds on.
I don't know.
So,
but seriously, you see people and there's a blindfold, or something where they cover their eyes, and then they smell it, and maybe it is a distraction thing.
It's interesting. I've not seen that. I have to look that up and see that.
Let's see if there's science behind it.
Interesting. Yeah, I've checked it out. Well, Erik and Emily, it's been a pleasure having y'all on our show this week. So real quick, before I jump into my sponsors that I've got here, how can people find y'all on social media and on internet and y'all's tasting room? Why'd you point at him for? Do you not know where you're at?
He's like the king of the commercial. Like he's got it.
So
I would actually throw it at her, make her do it since she doesn't even know where she's at.
Where are you, babe?
I'm at Old Vine, Texas.
We're doing great. Okay, so have more wine. I got this. So the first place you should go is oldvinetexas, spelled out.com. So our website. A couple things going on there. So right on the home page, I will always post the hours that we're open. And I say that because we are inside of an event center. There is the occasion when there is an event, wedding, otherwise, and we are not allowed to be open. So it's just the nature of where we're at right now. So I post the hours at least 2 weeks out. I do my best to anyway. I will then have the graphics for any upcoming live music or entertainment that's coming up. And then there's newsletter sign up, which we encourage everybody to do. Go sign up for the newsletter because once a week I send out just a real simple, hey, this is when we're open. Here's who's playing. This is the tasting that we're doing for the week. And then if there's any additional events or things in the wine community that we've been made aware of, I'll toss it out there and I'll let people, see what's going on. So that's the other thing. Also on the website, there's an events link so you can see other upcoming musicians that are playing. It's something, being a musician myself and I've been in the industry for forever, it's something that I really take to heart, and I would love to be recognized as a good place to come watch live music in Mansfield. So I'm doing my best and doing my part as much as I can. So beyond the website, of course, we're on Instagram, Old Vine Texas spelled out. We're on Facebook, Old Vine Texas spelled out. So I've made it really easy, as long as you can remember Old Vine Texas. You should be able to find us online.
Awesome.
See, when he asked me, where are you? And I said, Old Vine, Texas. That's all you need.
That's all you need.
So what is your physical address here to your tasting room?
The physical address here is 403 East Broad Street. That's in Mansfield, Texas.
Awesome.
Also Google Old Vine, Texas.
And Apple Maps.
Old Vine, Texas.
I did the fancy stuff and got us an Apple Maps.
Oh,
too.
man. Listen to Emily over here.
Old Vine, Texas.
She's in charge, ain't she? All right. Well, real quick, I'm going to hit our sponsors. So obviously, and you're signed up with this, I hope, Texas Wine Lover app.
Yes. Oh
Yes.
my gosh.
Yes.
Yes, I mean Jeff has got something amazing out there. You know, I tell everybody you need to go out here and you download this app. In fact, we need to get you some flyers to put in here.
I do.
I actually know where some is, so the next time I see it, I'll get you some.
Okay, good. Because I've asked Jeff about it.
Well, I mean, you don't have to ask Jeff. You just ask, one of his little. I don't want to call myself lackey, but
Cronies.
cronies. I like that.
Minion.
A minion's better, yes. But I've got flowers I can give you. So Texas Wine Lover app, great source of finding Texas wines. You can get on the website at texaswinelover.com and actually plan out your trip, and then it can translate or
Send it to your phone.
That's the word I'm looking for. Send it to your phone, and you can map out your and maximize your wine drinking experience. I love that part. Maximize your wine drinking experience. And then, of course, our other sponsor, Fly with Wine. This is one of my favorite sponsors. And finally, the suitcase got to be used. One of the ladies that went over to Australia to get ready for Grape Fest, she was wanting one of these suitcases so she didn't have to ship wine back. And I was like, well, for a small fee, I can let you borrow my suitcase. And she actually brought me 2 bottles of wine from Australia back.
And that was the fee.
Yeah, that was
Perfect.
the fee. Perfect fee, And she used it and she scuffed it up and I loved it. But Fly with Wine, solving shipping problems for wines, because, you can get a 2, 3, 6, 12 case wine shipping. You just pat it all. It's already padded up. You just stick your bottle into it, zip it up, check it in. And when you get to your destination, you grab it, and you're ready to go.
I need some of those.
Yeah, you don't even have to wait to ship the case of wine in from DHL or UPS or whatever. It's already ready to go, and when you get in your car, you just open the bottle and start drinking.
No problem with that. I see
can't
nothing
go wrong with that,
I see
right?
nothing wrong with that.
So we always end our show with quotes, okay? And openly admitted to y'all that I forgot to get the quotes added to this when I set up y'all show notes, okay? So while we're sitting here, I actually found a couple of good quick quotes. And these are actually really good ones for being something you find really fast. Perfect. So the first one is, from a simple beginnings to a sophisticated sips, wine's journey is a true adventure in taste. And that's a Texas saying right there, 100%.
No kidding.
From very simple beginnings.
Yeah.
It's Texas wines is so amazing. I may have to put that on a cup. And then the last one here is wine in hand, joy in heart, living the moment.
Perfect.
That's perfect.
Great quotes.
Yeah,
Great
love
quotes. It. Yeah. So
Cheers to that.
yes, cheers to that.
Yeah.
So Eric.
I've been called worse.
Yeah. Eric. Well, I was thinking Eric and Emily, and I was trying to say and. So Eric and Emily, thank you again for letting me come out here and just having y'all on the show, and thank you for supporting the Texas wine industry the way that y'all do.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Very much.
Thanks.
Appreciate it, Will.
Yep. So this is Will with We Know Texas Vino, and we cheers.